Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening. This is Primetime Asia. I'm Dianku Susilawati, Pengiran Haji Muhammad Sabri. In tonight's Primetime Asia, China has called for East Asian countries to actively carry out political and security dialogues to discuss a security framework that's proper in dealing with the security situation in the region. China is willing to promote a new type of security mindset that featuring comprehensive cooperation and sustainability, supporting the exchanges in security views and structures under the EAS framework. Thai authorities have transferred to Chinese police 2 Chinese nationals who were detained for illegal entry into Thailand and an illegal stay. The transfer procedure for the 2 was in accordance with a cooperation mechanism between Chinese and Thai police. Australia calls for greater intelligence sharing in Asia and orders local law enforcement officials to test their readiness to handle a mass casualty attack. Disease-free Tasmanian devils transported back to Australian island home to be reintroduced to their natural habitat as part of a plan designed to save the carnivorous marsupials from a contagious cancer threatening them with extinction. Kartini Knox has the details.
China has called on East Asian nations to cherish the hard-earned economic development and stability in the region and inject new vitality into regional cooperation. The Chinese Premier made the following proposals for accomplishing that target. The move came as Chinese Premier Li Keqiang addressed the 10th East Asia Summit EAS in the Malaysian capital Kuala Lumpur on Sunday. The bloc should accelerate economic integration to build East Asia as a steady growing part of the global economy. China, who is promoting the implementation of the One Belt and One Road initiative and international productivity cooperation with other East Asian countries, proposes the financial organizations in the countries of the region to form an Asian Association for Financial Cooperation, Li said. Li called on East Asian nations with different cultural heritages to enhance communication and dialogues so as to achieve harmonious co-development between different civilizations in his third proposal. The senior leaders of the states participating in the EAS agreed that the summit should play a more important role in promoting political mutual trust, deepening international economic ties in the face of fast-changing and complicated international and regional challenges. Li said that regional differences must be resolved peacefully in accordance with the international laws through negotiations and constructive measures, and he believes that all countries involved in the South China Sea dispute are willing to work together to implement the Declaration on the Code of Conduct on the South China Sea and push forward the negotiations for the Code of Conduct. Thai authorities have transferred to Chinese police 2 Chinese nationals who were detained for illegal entry into Thailand and an illegal stay. The Chinese police have detained and accused the 2 suspects, Jiang Yefei, 47, and Dong Guanping, 56, of organizing illegal border crossings and illegally crossing the border respectively. Jiang had been illegally staying in Thailand since November 2008. He was deported in April 2012. But later illegally returned to Thailand and was caught twice by Thai police. He met Dong through the internet in early 2015. After learning of Dong's intention to sneak across the Chinese border, Jiang advised Dong to travel through several provincial regions in order to cross. Dong finally crossed the Chinese border in Yunnan and arrived in Bangkok on September 19th after traveling through Laos. The 2 were caught by Thai police on October 28th and were handed over to the Chinese police on November 13th. The police found the 2 were also involved in other criminal offences, pending further investigation.
To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it, and I call the Prime Minister.
Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull on Tuesday called for greater intelligence sharing in Southeast Asia to stop a Paris-style attack and ordered local law enforcement officials to test their readiness to handle a mass casualty attack. Citing increased terrorist threats, the United States issued a global alert on November 23rd for Americans planning to travel following deadly militant attacks in France and Mali.
Hundreds of thousands of Australians
Australia
visit
suffered
Southeast
its
Asia
worst
every
peacetime
year.
attack on its
Business,
citizens on
study,
the Indonesian
or holiday.
tourist island of Bali in 2002, when two Islamist suicide bombers set off explosives at packed nightclubs, killing 202 people, including 88 Australians. Australia has been on heightened alert for attacks by homegrown radicals since last year. In September, police shot dead a Melbourne teenager after he stabbed two counter-terrorism officers. Last December, two hostages were killed when police stormed a central Sydney cafe to end a 17-hour siege by a lone gunman who was also killed. Last month, a 15-year-old British boy was sentenced to life in prison for inciting an attack on a World War I commemorative event in Australia from his bedroom in northern England. About 120 Australians are believed to be fighting with Islamic State and other militant groups in Iraq and Syria, with several believed by intelligence agencies to hold leadership positions in Islamic State.
I've also asked that our law enforcement agencies test their response.
The largest group of Tasmanian devils to be reintroduced to their natural habitat arrived on the Australian island state on November 18th, part of a plan designed to save the carnivorous marsupials from a cancer threatening them with extinction. A group of 22 of the fierce creatures were flown from Devil Ark, a disease-free captive breeding facility at Barrington Tops, about 250 kilometres from Sydney, to Tasmania. Devil facial tumour disease has caused the population to plummet to around 10,000, now from an estimated 250,000 before 1996, when the disease was discovered. The disease causes large lumps to form around the animal's mouth and head, making it hard for the animals to eat. The contagious cancer, one of only a very few small handful known in the world, is transferred simply by touch. Devils' natural feeding behaviour and mating behaviour means whenever they come into contact with one another, this disease can be transmitted and thus the rapid decline. After 3 months, they see symptoms. After 6 months, the devils are gone. Mike Drinkwater, operations manager at the Devil Ark Recovery Programme, told Reuters. Devil Ark currently has 180 devils in the programme, making it the largest captive insurance population in Australia. The project has taken 4 years to reach a point of reintroduction into the wild. Prior to transporting and releasing the animal, they are sprayed and checked for lice and any insects. They have been released into native bushland near the southern state capital of Hobart, protected by devil-proof fencing and other deterrents to prevent diseased devils from contaminating the healthy specimens. European settlers named the Sarcophilus harrisii Tasmanian devils after witnessing their ferocious teeth-baring display and spine-chilling guttural growls when attacking food. The Tasmanian devil is the world's largest carnivorous marsupial, reaching 30 inches or 76 centimetres in length and weighing up to 12 kilograms.
Welcome back. United States Ambassador to United Nations Samantha Power slams officials and public servants in the United States for Islamophobia after the Paris attack called it outrageous and offensive. She said suggestion from some quarters that religious tests be applied to people seeking refuge in the USA was outrageous and offensive. Funerals are held for 2 opposition leaders executed in Bangladesh for war crimes committed during the 1971 War of Independence. Iraq's foreign Ibrahim al-Jafari holds meeting with his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida in Tokyo. Over 120 waiters test their skills in Japan's waiters race. Fullerton City in California have agreed to pay $5 million to settle a wrongful death action after 2 police officers savagely beat a man to death in Southern California. A 41-year-old Northern white rhino has died at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, leaving just 3 members of the critically endangered species alive worldwide, say zoo officials. Floods in India have left at least 70 people dead. Kartini Knox has the details. Stay tuned.
about what type of country you want.
The US ambassador to the United Nations on Monday, November 23rd, slammed officials and public servants in the United States for Islamophobic behavior in the aftermath of the Paris attacks that killed 129 and injured 400 others. Speaking at a town hall meeting of students in the Sri Lankan capital of Colombo, Samantha Power said, in the wake of the Paris attacks, many officials, public servants, have appealed to people's fears of refugees, saying that we should turn away people who have suffered bombings, people who suffered disappearances. The town hall meeting with young Sri Lankans took place on the last day of Power's 3-day visit to the country. She is the second member of US President Barack Obama's cabinet to visit the Indian Ocean island since President Maithripala Sirisena defeated dictatorial former President Mahinda Rajapaksa in January. Sirisena has won strong backing from Washington and other Western powers for his policy of strengthening democracy and initiating steps to reconcile the country's majority Sinhalese and minority Tamils after the end of the 3 decades of separatist war. On Sunday, November 22nd, she travelled to the former war-torn northern city of Jaffna and met with local government officials and organisations and communities affected by the conflict. Power met with President Sirisena on Monday in the capital. She is expected to meet with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe in the evening before leaving to New York.
Okay.
Funerals were held on Sunday, November 22nd, for 2 Bangladeshi opposition leaders executed for war crimes committed during the 1971 war to break away from Pakistan. Islamist opposition leader Ali Ahsan Muhammad Mujahid and Salahuddin Quadar Chowdhury, a former legislator from former Premier Khalida Zia's Bangladesh Nationalist Party, were hanged shortly after President Abdul Hamid rejected their appeals late on Saturday, November 21st, for clemency, in a move likely to draw an angry reaction from supporters. Mujahid's funeral was held in his hometown of Faridpur and Chowdhury's in his hometown of Rauzan Chittagong. Mujahid, 67, of the Jamaat-e-Islami party, and Chowdhury, 66, were hanged at Dhaka Central Jail. The senior police official said they were both hanged simultaneously on 2 separate platforms. The Supreme Court had previously rejected their appeals against a death sentence imposed by a special tribunal for genocide and torture of civilians during the conflict. The Border Guard Bangladesh paramilitary force has been deployed across the country to tighten security. Muslim-majority Bangladesh, until 1971 East Pakistan, has seen a rise in Islamist violence in recent months, with 2 foreigners and 4 secular writers and a publisher killed this year. Mujahid was found guilty on 5 charges, including torture and the murders of intellectuals and minority Hindus, while he commanded Al-Badr, an auxiliary force of the Pakistani army, during the war to break away from Pakistan. Chowdhury, former legislator from former Premier Khalida Zia's Bangladesh Nationalist Party, was convicted in October 2013 on charges of genocide, religious persecution, abduction and torture during the war. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina opened an inquiry into crimes committed during the war in 2010, paving the way for prosecutions by a war crimes tribunal that Islamists have denounced as part of a politically motivated campaign aimed at weakening Jamaat-e-Islami's leadership. 2 Jamaat leaders have been executed, one in December 2013 and another in April. They declined to seek clemency from the president. The government denies accusations of interference in the judiciary. East Pakistan broke away to become independent Bangladesh after a war between India and Pakistan. About 3 million people were killed. The Republic of Iraq's Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Ibrahim Al-Jafari and Japan's Foreign Affairs Minister Fumio Kishida met on Tuesday in Tokyo. Al-Jafari is in Japan to meet several Japanese officials, including the president of the Japan International Cooperation Agency and the Parliamentary Friendship Iraq-Japan Committee, to promote bilateral relations between the 2 nations, according to Iraq's Foreign Affairs site detailing his visit. In September, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe told the United Nations General Assembly that Japan would boost its assistance for refugees and internally displaced people from Syria and Iraq this year to about $810 million, 3 times the amount provided last year. But the Premier brushed off any suggestion that Japan, which accepted just 11 of about 5,000 asylum seekers last year, would take in any refugees from the Syria conflict, the world's worst migrant crisis since World War II. Dressed in their uniforms and armed with a loaded tray, over 120 waiters came to the Japanese port town of Yokohama to test their profession's key traits. Enter Japan's waiters' race. Participants have to carry a bottle and 3 cups filled with water down a 300-meter course. And although it's not an easy balancing act, testing her waiting skills against others is a thrill, says Hitomi Ito of the Yokohama Bay Hotel. Kento Sasamoto, one of the few restaurant workers in the race, won the individual's men's event in 49 seconds. 21-year-old restaurant waiter Kento Sasamoto said that he wanted to prove that restaurant and cafe waiters were on par to participants from hotels. The waiters' race began in Paris in the 1930s and was aimed at improving the recognition of serving as a career. Today it's held annually in more than 61 countries, and this race is the only official one in Japan that dishes up speedy service. The 2 officers seen beating and tasering Kelly Thomas in the Southern California city of Fullerton were cleared of any criminal charges over his death. 4 years later, the city has agreed to pay nearly $5 million to settle a wrongful death action. The settlement came on the day a trial was due to start. The homeless man's father, Ron Thomas, says the agreement to pay indicated that they knew they were liable. The death of Thomas in 2011 triggered angry street protests. The officers approached the unarmed man to question him about reports of vandalized cars. Prosecutors in the criminal trial, which acquitted them of wrongdoing last year, said they turned a routine encounter into an unnecessary and savage beating. Fullerton city officials say the settlement amount was pending final approval by insurers. A $1 million payout to Thomas's mother was separately agreed earlier. A 41-year-old northern white rhino died on Sunday, November 22nd at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, leaving just 3 members of the critically endangered species alive worldwide, zoo officials said. Nola, an aging rhino that had resided at the California Zoo Park since 1989, had been receiving treatment for a bacterial infection, according to a statement on the zoo's website. She was placed under constant veterinary watch last week as her appetite and activity levels declined. After her condition worsened significantly, caretakers decided to euthanize her. The 3 remaining northern white rhinos are at the Ol Pieta Conservancy in Kenya, the zoo said on Facebook in response to an outpouring of comments from Nola's fans.
For 2 weeks now, India's
Tamil state has been swamped by heavy rainfall and flooding that's left at least 70 people dead. Many parts of the city of Chennai are underwater. Pumps do a little to help, but it's not enough, and now residents are worried about the spread of mosquito-borne diseases like dengue fever. The state's opposition party leader M.K. Stalin accuses the ruling party of doing too little to provide relief to affected communities. India's southeast coast becomes vulnerable to annual cyclones every November and December. But this year, the rains have been unusually heavy, weather officials say. And they're warning of more heavy rain in parts of Tamil in the days ahead.
And that's it for this week's Primetime Asia. We'll be back at the same time next week with more news and features from the Asia-Pacific region. For more news, you can visit our website at www.rtbnews.rtb.gov.pn. I'm Dianku Susilawati, Pangeran Haji Sabri, wishing you a good week ahead and good night. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.